Hi. All of you signing up have presumably had some exposure to filmmaking. If you haven't, then kudos to you buying this course at all in the first place. I'd never directed a short when I made my first feature. Sometimes you have to bite off more than you can chew just to learn, to do. Anyway, for everyone else, you do already have a considerable network surrounding you, whether it be others on your course, others making the short you were involved in, or the guys you hang out with. I think the overriding thing I've learned is that making a film really does split the world into two camps. The people who can, and the people who talk a good game but can't deliver when the chips are down. I don't ever need to work again with the second lot. And one of the key reasons I went to film school was to meet more of the first lot, those that can. So what you're going to need to do, either as the writer, the producer, or the director, is again, look about you with super filmmaking goggles on and work out who is an immediate yes and who an immediate no, and who is missing from the party. It'll be relatively easy to ask around who can recommend someone, who can recommend sound or a DP, an editor or whatever. Just ask around, but be sure you can trust their opinion. I've been led up the garden path more times than I can care to remember, taking recommendations at face value. Movie making is a trial by fire, as I said, and some cannot take the heat. But once you've done it once, you'll really have a very clear idea of the people who can and the people who can't. The sooner you put the word out though, the sooner you'll start compiling a list of respondents. You can then take your time sifting through and seeing how the various crew members stand up to scrutiny. Look, in some instances, you simply won't have a choice. Many's the film where a guy got the part because they're related to the investor. Some of that is unavoidable, particularly at this level. Conversely, however, as a no-budget movie, you have a real ace up your sleeve, and that is that you basically don't have to be answerable to anybody. If some finance comes at too high a price, then it can just as easily be a no. If you can afford to wait, then maybe the actor or camera operator you wanted becomes available in 4 months' time. Your core team needs to be 100% on board, and they need to be bulletproof. As far as you can, make it so. Anyway, the better the screenplay, the stronger the story, the better your ability becomes to make that the case. Thereafter, it becomes about people management, as I've mentioned. People getting along with who they need to get along with. I had a situation on Angels that I had no idea about, but 2 people assigned to get the day's rushes to the lab for processing had fallen out and weren't speaking to each other. Don't forget, this was in the days of film, where film cans really needed looking after, to be kept in the fridge until use and then processed as soon as possible once exposed. I have no idea why they weren't speaking. The important thing was that the rushes be taken out of the fridge at the end of the day and delivered to the lab that same evening. Well, by the end of the shoot, this wasn't happening, and in fact the last day's rushes never made it for several days. I was unaware of all of this. I went away on holiday thinking everything was under control. Of course, as a writer, director, producer, actor, I was spread far too thin. If I'd done my job properly, if I'd had my ear to the ground, if I'd communicated better, I'd have been aware of the situation and the potential danger that left me in. In terms of the raw footage, I could have done something about it. Don't be me. Sort things out, stay in contact with everyone, or at the very least with someone who has the time and ability to know, to see what's going on under the surface and nip those situations in the bud before they fester. There will always be those situations where you simply cannot get who you want, either because of your circumstances, because of where you live, who you know, etc. Sometimes you just have to make do, or have to do the job yourself just to get the job done. And that's okay, but if at all possible, when you do bring someone on board, be sure they can do what they say they can do. Don't bring anyone on board who needs carrying or is lacking in the basics. No budget movies are already cut back to the bare essentials, and they cannot carry spare. If you don't know who you do or do not need, then, as I say, talk to those that do. We can't all be expected to be expert in every field. I have an army of people more experienced than me guiding me in my negotiating a way forward. Amazing filmmakers. It's only by standing on their shoulders that I get to do anything. Don't be too proud to ask when you don't know. What I'd also say with no budgeting is that you really won't need the comprehensive kind of crew you might ordinarily be looking for with a fully fledged film. Do you need a grip? Look at gimbals and what they can achieve. Can the DOP operate? Wardrobe, makeup, props. How many of those do you actually need for your shoot? Maybe you need a couple of them for specific days, but do you need them every day? How many assistants does every head of department really need? Of course, Many hands make light work, and ideally your assistant would have an assistant, but it's also amazing how little you can make do with if push comes to shove. I'd also suggest that anyone who has done a course stay in touch with tutors. They're an invaluable source, not only of knowledge, but also other graduates who might be able to assist, or maybe they even get involved themselves. Maybe the college facilities could be open up to you, depending how long ago you left. You don't know until you ask.